Hey, welcome back to your Excel chart lab. The subject for tonight's video is it's going to be two parts. The first part is we're going to be using the built-in forecast sheet to forecast weekly closing prices for our stock this evening. Our stock this evening is Johnson & Johnson, one of the oldest blue chip stocks on the stock market. It's been listed since 1944. Okay, I've already nothing really tricky here except you notice we're pulling 2 years worth of data. All right. I've already calculated a 21-day 50 moving average. If you don't know how to forecast moving averages, go back, check some other videos. A couple videos show exactly how easy that is to do. Okay, so let's start out by for a couple quick plots just to sort of get us loosened up here. Remember this, right? You remember this, don't you? So have the have volume on the second, have volume on the volume as a secondary axis and an area plot plus a. Let's go over here like this. Let's change. So there's our first plot for this team. You can see Johnson & Johnson for most of the year since 2024 has really been pretty. Now something happened here in January, and Johnson & Johnson just took off. Look at this. What the devil happened there? So now we're going to take a look at just the 21-day 50-moving average plotted with the close. We do that by what? Using everybody's favorite function, right? The take function. We're going to look at the last. Remember, dash means last. I don't know, 30 days. I don't know. What do you think? 60 days? 60 days data. All right. Let's make this 145 also. Oh, better yet, let's make it 170. Okay. So you know the drill about moving average. What we're looking for is a crossover event. The good news is it hasn't broken through the 50 mile. It stayed above the 50 moving average. Okay. But on the 20-day moving average, we did have some crossover events, right? We had a big crossover here, and we spent a couple of weeks above this 20 moving average, which is a good sign. It briefly tested it, but then it bounced back up, and now it's moving horizontal along the way. Okay, so that takes care of our preliminary analysis for this. So now let's jump in to the forecast. So we're going to use Power Query to calculate a median and an average weekly price. Okay. All right. You want to convert this to type, date, replace, make sure it's sorted. Let's call this data. Let's see what happens here, okay? Then you go to transform, group by. Oops. All right. Then you go to group by. No, that's not correct. What happened over here? What we have to do first is highlight date, go to transform, date, make sure our date's sorted correctly, week, start of week. So now you can see we assigned the starting week date to each day of the week. Okay, now we can come over here, we get a group by, date. First column is going to be called average. Average. Want to average close. Then we want to do an advanced, add another aggregation called median. Okay? And now we got our date series. Come back over here, home, load to table, and here's our initial data set, okay? So we're going to start out. We can take a quick look at this just to see what it looks like, okay? So you can see it smooths it out a little bit, but see, it didn't really change the overall shape of the data, did it? It's kind of interesting. For that. So now let's do our first forecast. We're going to do 2 forecasts for average and 2 for median. We're going to do on the first forecast for each value. We're going to use the automatic seasonality, and the second one we're going to set the seasonality to 5. Okay. Then we're going to ask ChatGPT to analyze the data for us. So go to Data, Forecast Chart. That looks good. Include forecast. Okay. I'm going to rename this to alright. Let's jump this over here. See what it says here. Oh, here's how to read these ETS Hoyt winter stats for that. Okay. Alpha 1, the model is putting all its weight on the most recent observations. This is a strong sign that the series is being treated as a very reactive. No trend component was detected over weekly averages. Here's how good is this chart? Well, this is the red flag. Okay, any maze greater than 1 is not good. It was worse than a naive model. Bottom line, this configuration is behaving like last week's price adjusted slightly. No trend, no responsibility. Force, that's interesting. Force seasonality equals 0. Interesting. Okay. We can do that. Never really thought of that. Let's see. Interesting. Okay, this confirms something important. Seasonality force 0. The stats for are identical to the auto run. Auto seasonality is clearly choosing no seasonality. Okay. This is effectively a naive model in disguise. Okay. Okay. So let's try another one. But let's try seasonality equals 5, okay? So let's come back over here again. Now let's try seasonality set to 5. Okay, as always, what do I forecast so far out for? I understand that. It's interesting. It's seen it as an image in it rather than this text. Okay, this one is meaningfully different, even though the parameters look the same. What's changed and why it matters? Parameters still collapsed. Alpha, that's not good. But structurally, ETS is still behaving like a naive model. No truth. Okay. Better. Okay, good. It's a little different. How can performance improve? Okay, so now we'll come back over here, and we're going to do the same thing with median. Seasonality. We're going to set seasonality to 0, and we're going to do seasonality equals 5. Okay. Now, you wouldn't think that, I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, what would happen if we did a forecast for the high and the low? But anyway, perish the thought. Judge, strike that from the record, okay? Maybe that's a subject for another video, okay? So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to set seasonality to 0 the first time. We're going to do seasonality set to 5, okay? Data. Set our forecast 6. Forecast start. Stats. And I will upload this spreadsheet to the repository, and I'll include a link to the repository, GitHub repository in both the video description and the comment section. Okay, so let's go over here and set this up to 140. Well, this is, again, I think we're still looking for something less than 1 here. This result is very informative because it lets us isolate what helps and what doesn't. Here's how to read the median seasonality set to 0. So it's in second place. Median help, but only slightly. Median smoothing alone is not enough to rescue ETS for weekly data. Okay, so now let's come back over here again. Let's see, let's do data. So the question is, what are we going to tell the stockholders, okay? Configuration is the best possible ETS setup at weekly frequencies. Noise reduction, structural anchoring. But it's still not beating the naive. Okay. 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 Okay, stockholders, here's your summary. This forecast is a short-term planning aid, not a prediction of market direction. Using industry standard exponential smoothing, we find no stable seasonal or trend pattern in the stock price at a weekly level. As a result, the model projects prices to remain near recent levels with uncertainty increasing over time. What the forecast shows, translate for stockholders. Using weekly data for Johnson & Johnson. The model does not detect any repeatable seasonality or trend. Forecasts are therefore anchored in recent prices. Error levels are consistent with normal market volatility. The market, not the model, is the dominant driver for price movement. Tell the stockholder the forecast is useful for short-term planning scenarios, risk awareness and volatility extent, understanding price stability and stability. What the forecast is not claiming. It does not predict directional price moves. It is not identifying buy or sell timing. It does not override foundational fundamentals or news. It cannot predict, in other words, a technically accurate but safe sentence option. The model performs comparably to a naive benchmark, which indicates that recent prices are currently the best single summary for near-term expectations and market. Okay, and there you have our session for this evening. Basic forecasting using weekly averages and weekly median prices using the forecast worksheet in Excel.